Hello, as I promised, today I will talk about CCA NRA. Of course, announcement of this model took me a bit by surprise because getting electrostat model with electrostatic driver from the CCA or KZ is surprising, and getting it for $22, link to the Linsol shop I will add to the description, it's even more surprising. And to be honest, I will set aside that arguing about can the driver used here be called electrostatic or no, because everyone knows that true electrostatic drivers require special amplification with high voltage and requires biasing for the driver and so on, and here used the different driver type. It's not 100% electrostatic, but in general it's not that important because it's still a new type of driver that is available for a really affordable price, and it makes this model really interesting. Even if we consider that it's not true electrostatic driver, it's still something fresh, something new, and you can try that not for free, but for a low price, and actually that makes everything pretty interesting. And actually add here a pretty well balanced sound, you'll get a nice model. But more on that a bit later, and let's have a closer look at the exterior now. In terms of package, it's really simple. It's traditional CCA, and it's cyan version, and 25 ohms of impedance, 103 decibels of sensitivity, so average figures. Version without microphone, and traditional for this company matchbox-like packaging. I think it's kind of gold standard for cheap earphones. And you'll get two additional pair of silicone tips, stock cable, of course. Cable is also pretty traditional, and you know what you'll get with another KZ or CCA. For $100 it's a bad accessory set, but for the $22 model I think it's really nice offer. Here are earpieces themselves. I like that modern approach to the design by CCA and KZ. Good ergonomic shells, inner part is made of plastic. It's really good plus actually if you live somewhere with cold winters when it's below zero outside. Having a full metal shell is not that great idea. Unfortunately, spouts are plastic, no metal spouts for this model, but angle and length are pretty good. They go deep into the ear channel and isolate noise relatively well. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill, and thanks to KZ, plastic is transparent and you can see the internals, you can explore it, you can see the dynamic driver and the rest of stuff. On the box mentioned triple dynamic driver, but I think it's just some complicated construction of driver itself, because case of the driver is just one is visible. Anyway, build quality is nice. For this price I think it can be called exceptional or really good, and nice metal faceplate, so looks pretty solid. Stock cable is also traditional. Finally KZ/CCA settled their taste. They use this connector with recessed pins, and it's also pretty good. And stock cable is just okay, so ear hooks, pretty thin, pretty soft, looks nicely. Microphonic effect is low, and that's good. Getting a bit hard when it's cold outside, but I can't say that it's a big issue. Splitter, and after splitter it goes with two cables in parallel down to the angle jack. So I don't think that there is much sense in saying more. It's just, for this price, it's just all exterior parts are really good. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 48 hours of burn-in and there were no changes in sound, but I had to try, no result is also a result. What is more important here, I really suggest you trying some third-party tips. There is a probability that these tips will fit you, but from my experience the stock tips are not providing the proper isolation, and in this case you can get not the full potential of these earphones. So it's better to try some third-party tips or at least try some experiments with this one, because for these earphones you'll need a good seal and proper sound isolation. Let's try to make sound description shorter than I did previously. So the main question, will you get that audiophilic layer treble of expensive multi-$100 or even multi-$1,000 earphones that uses electrostatic drivers from Sony? No, you won't. Will you get an interesting, nice sound and a new experience with this model? Yes, you will. So in terms of tuning, I really like NRA. They are close to that type of tuning and sound that I prefer. And actually, often CCA delivers better tuning than KZ, because often KZ tries to make everything more bassy, more saturated, with more coloration, and CCA try delivering more balanced sound. Of course, it's not some kind of rule and there are a lot of exceptions, but with NRA it's definitely true. So let's talk about the sound step by step first. Bass is slightly accented, but main accent is made on the mid bass. Deeper layers of bass are present, but they are not as forward as in some models. It's definitely not the bass head model, but it delivers good amount of impact and nice resolution. Not great, but pretty nice, and low frequencies are tight, impactful, but definitely not super punchy. Some call them bass light, but for me it's just bass proper. It's that amount of low frequencies that I like. And that's why, as an example, I used Siberian, because I like the amount of low frequencies here. Slightly more boosted, deeper bass would be nice for this track, but still accent on the mid-low frequencies delivers nice punch, and slightly accented treble delivers a good balance that plays nicely with this track. Mid frequencies are okay in terms of resolution, not great, but not terrible. I still like this meme and I like this TV series, but anyway, it's a dynamic driver but with nice resolution, but don't expect balanced armatures or some focus on the micro contrast. It's definitely not the model for those who like critical listening and for those who want to extract every single tiny detail of the sound. But all necessary details of the sound is present here. They are pretty forgiving for the poorly recorded material. Actually, they are not harsh in any aspect, they are not sounding unnatural, with one slight exception that I will mention later. And I like their balance of macrodynamics and resolution. They're slightly highlighting emotions, but not too much. The imaginary stage is above average both in width and in depth, and I like the instrument separation. I like how they're building three-dimensional space. It's a really good performance for the affordable earphones. And in general, I think they deliver good value for the price. Oh, okay, it should be somewhere close to the conclusion anyway. Let's go for the example. For the mid-frequencies, it's David Bowie Space Oddity. Guitar, vocal, and basically that's it. And this model allows you to focus on that stuff without being too analytical, without trying to highlight small nuances, but at the same time delivering nice resolution and sounding pretty balanced and natural. And things became more interesting when we come to the treble area, because of course everyone expects something unusual. And you'll get unusual experience, but with classical Sonion electrostatic drivers for earphones, you're getting super layered and super extended treble with focus on the micro contrast and slightly accenting small details. Here you'll get a good detalization of treble, but at the same time treble here is pretty soft. Not soft in terms of lacking resolution, but soft in terms of not being sharp or harsh or something like that. There is a slight peak at about 8 kHz area, so keep it in mind. If you're sensitive to that area, they can surprise you in not a pleasant way, but besides that, treble is nice. Not stellar again, but pretty good performing and sounding pretty natural with that one exception. Extension is of course average, and don't expect something like layering or something like that, but at the same time a bit new experience, bit more focus on small nuances and details, and bit more natural sounding treble you will get. So, in my opinion, worth that $22. And as an example, Led Zeppelin, rock and roll. They have a lot of percussion, they have guitar that goes to the treble area, and this model played nicely. Once again, not greatly, because to play it greatly you'll need something more expensive definitely. And better tuned also. In terms of pairing, they don't require something super powerful, something with absolutely black background, so they will be nice even with smartphone, but with some digital to analog converter they will give you a better result, so they worth some additional investments. I've seen some tweaks and some tuning for this model. I didn't try them, I'm talking about the stock version. Speaking about the comparisons, for example, KZ DQ6, pretty close in terms of tuning at bass, but in the low frequencies area DQ6 has slightly more sub bass and slightly less mid bass, and this one is a bit more resolving on the mids and more natural on the treble, but overall tuning is pretty close, and you know, to my ears it's a good upgrade over DQ6, but I've seen opposite versions over the internet too. And for example, KZ, ZS and Pro X, they have more forward treble, they are more V-shaped and more highlighting in the upper mids and treble area, sounding a bit more fun, but at the same time stepping less aside from more natural sound. And to summarize everything here, probably CCA NRA. It's not a giant killer, it's not some revolution, but it's a really interesting experience, and it's a nice, well-tuned model. Don't expect something huge, but they definitely deliver good performance for this $22. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.